Ooh, I think I'm live. I am doing my best here to make sure that this is, that my volume is turned all the way up and that you guys can, that you can see me really good. Hey, welcome to Civics for All Ages with moi, Kim Anderson, in conjunction with the Founding Project, National 501c3 educational nonprofit. I got something in my eye, and we are going to talk to you, I'm going to talk to you today about natural rights versus given rights. And you know what, I don't have any water, so this is going to be a very, very quick and succinct video. So as we get started, I'm giving a shout out today to the Washington Nationals and the Nats fans. Now I have to tell you, I feel a little ridiculous in this hat today because this baseball cap actually belongs to my 19-year-old son Jared, and part of the agreement that I have with him in wearing the hat today is that I do not bend the rim. So I am feeling like I got one of those Abraham Lincoln hats on, you know, like just it's like plopped on my head, and all I want to do is bend the rim. But I can't. I promised I wouldn't. But I am giving a shout out, Kim in all caps, for those of you that send us your baseball caps, or send in baseball caps for us to feature on our Civics videos. I will give you a shout out. Make sure that you're aware, just like I gave Jared a shout out, that, you know, right, this is Jared Anderson's baseball cap supporting his favorite baseball team, the Washington Nationals. So we give a big woo woo to the Nats and the Nats fans. They're actually doing pretty good so far. So there you go. All right, you want your team to do well? Send us your cap to Kim in all caps in care of the Founding Project, and we will give you a shout out, and your team can do well too. How about that? All right, so I am continuing on in our series on civics, and we talked a little bit last time in the previous video. We talked about why independence and how the colonists and our founding fathers actually got to a place that they had to declare independence from the crown and the king in England, how they actually got to that point. So I am still moving forward with our lesson from Alpha Omega Publications and their Civics elective course. Still really kind of at the beginning, still really fresh with what we're talking about. But I wanted to touch on today, and you know I always have my handy dandy pocket Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, which we're going to touch on a little bit today. You can get these from several organizations, and I just recommend that you get one so that you can just sort of flip through. When you hear people and things talking on the news, you can just sort of flip through and read the Constitution for yourself and not have to take their word for it. You'll know what they're talking about, and then you'll be able to decide for yourself if they're telling you the truth. Okay, all right, so what we're going to talk about today is a really interesting subject, and it's something I think is unique to maybe England, America. It's not something that all countries sort of adhere to, so it's one of those things that makes us similar, but we're still a little bit different. But natural rights, and what is a natural right? Because what happened was that the colonists felt like their natural rights were being infringed upon, and their given rights, which we'll talk about in just a minute, were being eroded by the crown and by Parliament as they were starting off being just British citizens here in this land. And so a natural right, according to our lesson here with Alpha Omega, is a belief that individuals are endowed with certain basic rights, which are so much a part of human rights that they cannot be taken away or surrendered. And so, according to the lesson, and I'm just going to be sharing it with you kind of straight today. This is not going to be long. Just hang with me for just a second, okay? But a few of those, what they call natural rights, like you're born, and these are the things that you want to do, these are the things that you desire to do, that the government should not impede you from doing, but should set up a system that protects you so that you can keep doing those things. Okay? And so, as British citizens, as our founding fathers were and started off to be, they came to this land, they came to the colonies, usually by way of what they called an English charter. And that means, and I'm just going to read it to you today, guys. That means in order to start a colony, a person or group needed to get legal permission in the form of a charter from the King of England. So as those charters were given, the colonists sort of thought this, they had this feeling in their mind. They thought that they could create their own legislatures, which is pretty much what the charter offered them the ability to do. The king would appoint a governor over the colony, but the colonists could set up their own laws and govern themselves according to the laws that they agreed upon. And so what happened was, since they could create their own legislature, they took this to mean, the colonists took this to mean that they were under the authority of the king, but not under the authority of Parliament. That's a really huge distinction, because what that meant was, we govern ourselves here, but we have the covering and protection of the King of England. Now, what happened after the English Civil War was that, you know, the English needed some additional treasury funds. So they started putting taxes and tariffs. We talked about that in the previous lesson. They started putting taxes and tariffs on the colonists. Now, as these kept building, and we talked about them in the last video, as those tariffs kept increasing and becoming more oppressive, the colonists and the founding fathers actually finally came up with a document that said enough is enough. And they called that document the Declaration of Independence. And what that really was, I told you in the last lesson, what it really was a legal document. But what they were saying essentially is that as British citizens, you have now infringed upon our given rights and started to erode our natural rights. Now let's just take a look at what, at some of those grievances, and then we'll move on. The basic statement concerning the natural rights of the individual is found in the Declaration of Independence, and I'm still pretty much quoting from Alpha Omega in this particular lesson. The rights, these rights were stated as certain unalienable rights. Now, if you're an American, this should not be a shock to you to hear these words. But these certain unalienable rights, and among those were and are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, what's interesting is that British rights, unalienable rights, were deemed to be, let me see if I can find it just so I make sure I read it right, were life, liberty, and the ability to own property. Isn't that interesting? Now, we have that too, but we never, Americans don't equate the owning of property as an unalienable right. We consider life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness an unalienable right. Now, if you let, and what the government should do is protect my ability to exercise those natural rights. So the given rights are it's like, okay, I give you the right to pursue your unalienable rights, your natural rights. And so even if they were to just, if it were to stay the ability to own property, then that means that the government should not unfairly tax me, because now you are infringing upon my natural rights by eroding my given rights. If you're gonna enforce laws upon me that I can't respond to, you're just gonna put them on me. Well, now we've got a problem, because now you're taking away my ability without me having any say. You're taking away my ability to pursue my happiness, and now I'm not as happy as I was before. And so in essence, that's sort of what was going on with the founding fathers. And so in the Declaration of Independence, it also stated pretty clearly that these rights are self-evident and they were given to us by our Creator. And the major purpose of government should be to protect those rights. Now, I think I've tried to touch on and bring into play both natural rights and given rights. I just want to give you a definition of given rights. And these are rights that have been specifically granted to individuals by law or written decree. Now, what would have been a given right would have been the charter that the King of England gave to the colonists to go establish colonies. That charter was a given right. But once they started adding all these different tariffs, and I think I wrote some of them down, where some of them were the freedom of religion, where they couldn't, they wanted to impose how people would worship, or they wanted to invade their privacy at the drop of a hat. Now they began to feel like, hey, these given rights that you've given us to be here as colonists, you're now impeding, and now we want our natural rights. And that was what sort of led to the Declaration of Independence. And so I just want to read through here really quickly through the lesson to make sure that I've touched on some of the things that they talked about. The primary responsibility of government is to protect the natural rights of its citizens. The idea of limited government is that the powers of government, as established in its constitution, are effectively controlled. This assures that the rights of the individual are guaranteed. All right. I'm just reading. I just want to make sure that I get it all, that we talk about it. It's not a long lesson today, so get excited about that. And yeah, natural rights and given rights. The government can establish given rights, but those given rights should not necessarily impede upon our natural rights. It should actually create an environment that our natural rights can thrive and grow and survive. Absolutely. So with that being said, guys, that's going to do it for today. Now listen, let me tell you where we're going. And I'm really excited about where we're going. Just wanted to really lay a foundation to help people understand sort of how we got here. And I'm going to see if I can flip to the table of contents. Give me a second. But here's what's coming up next. And I'm like, excited about it. All right. So next we're going to start talking about forms of government. Oligarchies, representative republics, democracies. We're going to actually put some definitions so that you begin to understand what type of government we have now, where they might have originated from. What we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about monarchies. We're going to talk about different forms and types of government, and that is going to be really juicy and really awesome. I might set it up like a newscast or something, but I don't know, but it's going to be fun. And then we'll talk about limits in government. We'll talk about liberalism, republicanism, constitutional republicanism, what that means, what those terms actually mean. You hear them bantied about in the media all the time. We're going to talk about what they mean, their actual definitions. I'm just a gal that believes words matter. The definitions of words matter. And so we're not going to let people change the definition of words to fit their narrative. We're going to actually find out what they mean, which was part of my reasoning for wanting to do a civics lesson, to actually get to the root and the heart of what it means to be an American citizen. So I'm very excited about that. So we're going to be talking about a lot of things coming up. You're going to understand the shape and form of our government. And we're going to talk about it and bring it from the 1700s, finally. We're going to start to bring it forward to this century so that we can begin to connect the dots and understand the true value and the true power of our citizenry and our citizenship as Americans. So get excited, guys. I am really thrilled about where we're going to be going. God bless you. Check out the Founding Project and all the things that they're going to have going on. It's going to be wonderful. This is Kim in all caps. Remember, I need your baseball cap, so I'm not sitting here looking like, Abraham Lincoln. Send them to the Founding Project, and they will tell you where you can send those caps so that you can keep Kim in all caps, and I can actually bend the rim. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I'm coming to you from my patio today, if you couldn't tell, in sunny Central Florida, and I am just thrilled, pleased as punch to have been able to share this message with you today. Natural rights versus given rights. Well, not versus, but in conjunction with, and how it matters and why it matters. Because we as Americans, we've been endowed with the ability of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I tell you what, guys, it's special to us. Everyone else doesn't do this. So you got to be able to grab hold of what's been appropriated for you as an American, okay? All right, I'm really gonna go, otherwise I'm gonna keep talking. God bless. Kim in all caps. Love you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.